This is Radio 97. We are talking law with local lawyer Despina Priala of boutique law firm Priala Legal. She joins us to answer all sorts of legal questions, unpacks all sorts of big court cases, and gives you some general advice on air at this time every week. More than 30 years experience in property and commercial law, and she's with us once again on this Thursday morning. Hi, Despina.
Hi, Wayne. Hi, Brooke.
Morning, Desi. So yes, just like what Wayne said there, we are unpacking a very big story this morning, which has just hit headlines. It's in regards to an elderly couple in Southport. A developer is demanding the couple to pay an extra $114,000 to secure their dream unit. So this is all over the front page of the newspaper. So Despina, it does, obviously, looking at that headline, sound like a pretty sticky situation.
It's a sticky situation, and I'm aware now that they are part of a lawsuit from the buyer's solicitor, which is public knowledge now. So this article was entitled, and it's in relation to Marine Quarter. So the Marine Quarter project has been underway for a few years now, and it was unfortunately the subject of the GCB builders collapse, which happened, I think, more than a year ago or within the last 12 months. So the builder on that project, Marine Quarter, was GCB. They went under. Naturally, when the builder goes under, and we've seen that on the Gold Coast, unfortunately, in the last 12 to 18 months, when this happens on a project, it inevitably delays the completion of the project. Now, this article is about the developer writing to this particular buyer, and we're not sure if he's written to any other buyers in the project, but this article just relates to this couple. And it was about the developer saying, look, we believe that the project's, commercially unviable. We really need you and are asking you to tip in. It was an extra $114,560 on top of the original price that they agreed to. And if we just pause there for a moment, we are talking about off the plan. Right, so off the plan projects, there are numerous off the plan projects on the Gold Coast happening every which way, from south to north, and this is an off the plan. So off the plan, you're buying in. If you happen to buy in early, nothing's really happened, might be a hole in the ground, and then they start construction. And with off the plan, you always have sunset dates. This particular one that I believe had the longest sunset date allowed in Queensland, which was 5.5 years. And when you go into a project this early, and the article indicated this couple in February 2019. So that was, 5 years ago. So undoubtedly, or hopefully they would have been advised, I'm not sure, that when you sign off the plan early and you've got a sunset date of 5.5 years, you could very well be waiting for 5.5 years until it's completed. And buyers really need to understand that. And that's something I tell my buyers from the minute I talk to them. This has got 5.5 years. Even if the agent tells you, oh, look, it'll be finished in 3 years.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. It could take the whole 5.5 years, and you need to be prepared to wait that long, because you can't get out of your contract. You can't demand it be finished early or anything like that. So going back to the article, so the developer demanded extra monies. The couple said, well, no, I agreed to buy this back in 2019 for this original price. Then a subsequent letter was issued by the developer's lawyer saying, well, we're terminating your contract. Here's your deposit back because you didn't agree to pay the extra money. Now, that might sound extraordinary, and it is. But I do want to tell people out there, unfortunately, this is happening a lot on the Gold Coast. Now, if you are under an off-the-plan contract, you need to be very, very careful and make sure that whoever is representing you can actually properly represent you. If you find yourself in a scenario where your lawyer gets a letter from the developer's solicitors along similar lines saying, look, the project's no longer viable, we've got, financial issues, construction issues, constraints, we want you to tip in extra money. Well, first of all, you don't have to just agree to that. Second of all, you've got to have a lawyer that's experienced in this area of law to then look at your contract. What does your contract provide? Every off-the-plan contract is different. No one contract is identical. And you need to see exactly, well, what does the contract provide? Does the developer actually have a right of termination? And if he does, or if she does, then how does it come about? Under what circumstances? So it's not a given that the developer can just terminate. It might seem that way out in the public arena because it's happening a lot and we see a lot of stories, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they can actually do what they want to do. So this buyer has got lawyered up, and they have now suing the developer for specific performance of the contract. Now, what that means is that when you file a lawsuit and you claim for damages in this case, they're saying, well, I'm not going to accept your termination. I don't agree with it. I think you're doing the wrong thing, put very simply, and I'm going to sue you and force you to settle on the original contract for the original price. So
Okay.
this is going to be a very interesting case to see what happens.
Yep. So you mentioned there, so not all contracts are the same. So it's absolutely worthwhile to check your contract to make sure if something like this did come up, because there could be a way around it.
There could be a way around it. And the other thing I want to mention is that it doesn't mean that it's happening to every single buyer in the project either. And obviously, there's no register of buyers in a project. It's not public information. So if you are in this particular project in Marine Quarter or any other project and you have got this letter, you won't know if every other lot buyer is being affected in the same way, or it could be just you. And why would they target you as a buyer? Who knows? Maybe it's your particular apartment, your particular price was less than the others. Who knows why? But the point being is that if it's not something that's affecting all of buyers in a project, and there's sort of, if a developer's cherry picking certain buyers, or we might just do this level in this building, and then another level, but we won't touch the other lots. Well, that's something that's I think the developer's playing with a bit of fire there if they start to choose to do that in a project. So if you're in that situation at all, whether it's Marine Quarter or another project, I'd really like to hear about it, and you could reach out to me directly, because we obviously specialise in off the plan and have done for many, many years, but we're aware of what's happening in the market. And it's not happening everywhere, but it is happening, like this particular project. And we want to sort of get that information from people out there, that if it is, or if you know someone that is being affected by this, please reach out, because it doesn't mean that the developer can, and I'll call it, get away with, well, I'm just going to terminate your contract and because you didn't pay me an extra 114,000. Well, do you have the right to ask for it? And it all comes back to your original contract with the developer.
Yeah. And that's a lot of money as well for their saying, extra building costs, $114,000. And it was interesting you said off air too, Despina, that along the way, apparently the couple were getting updates, but things were looking good. So surely in the court case, this would work in their favor.
It's an interesting, wasn't it? Interesting, I suppose, exercise in communication and how that's made to buyers in a project, and perhaps the left hand's not talking to the right hand from the developer down, because in this particular case, there were construction updates, which buyers often get in projects. And only a couple of months before they got that letter, everything was looking rosy. Everything was positive. The construction updates were saying, look, it's going gangbusters. We're going to be finishing soon. This is looking financially really well. And then quite inconsistent with that, they then got these legal letters. So, as a developer on the other side, you want to be really careful what evidence and information you're putting out there, because even though it's through your marketing agents, it is out there in writing for buyers to keep, retain, use in any lawsuit. And I think you'd be really silly to not, dot your I's and cross your T's with any information that's being permeated out there and circulated and published about your particular project. So that's a bit of a side comment, but yeah, I found that quite amusing.
Yeah, definitely. And just quickly then, do you think this elderly couple will come out on top in this court case?
Well, it will be a case to watch. 100%. And it'll be interesting. I obviously haven't read the contract, so I'm not familiar, or I haven't read the Marine Quarter contracts from 2019, so I don't know if they've got a particular case. But look, it'll be a while before we get a decision, unless it gets settled, which it could very well be settled out of court. So that'll be another interesting one to know about. But I think that this area off the plan, though, is the goalposts are shifting always, constantly, and there's not one answer that fits all. And that's why I always say, make sure you have someone who understands off the plan. It is a specialty area, and it's moving considerably all the time. And when you get through one court case, the developer or the buyer might try to, sort of work around that sort of outcome and try and get the same outcome in a different way. So that the goalposts are always shifting. So you've got to stay on top of it.
Definitely.
But if anybody's interested or affected, please reach out to me directly. I'd love to hear from you.
Definitely. That website, if you do want to get in touch with Despina, prialalegal.com.au. Thank you again for your time, Despina, and we'll talk to you next week.
See you next week.
See you then, guys.
Are you confused about legal jargon? Do you need legal advice but don't know where to turn? Tune in.